Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching on the replay, let me know in the comments so that I can loop back and say hello to you later. But for those of you who are starting to hop on live, welcome. Thank you for joining us and thank you for tuning in today. In today's session, I have the honor of speaking to Alix Hubble. Alix is a women's fitness and wellness coach dedicated to making fitness achievable, sustainable, and realistic for busy women, whilst also helping them to get off the diet roller coaster for good. And I suspect that we might, given the fact that we are recording this in January, we may very well have some people on that diet roller coaster as we speak at the moment. Alix, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi.
So we run businesses, and I know that for me, I have had periods where I've found it incredibly hard to juggle fitness, looking after myself, grabbing a bag of crisps on the way out the door as my lunch, all the things. Yeah. So if some of our listeners are like that, because it can feel really overwhelming. It can feel like, where do I begin? I have got so much stuff. How do I fit this into my day as well? I'm sure that a lot of people know logically that they should be taking care of themselves. They should be exercising. They should be eating well. But when it comes to the actual practicality of it, that's when they stumble and fall over. So where should we even begin with trying to get this stuff in our lives?
So I think, I have every sympathy with that, because obviously I run my own business and, I'm very busy, and when you run your own business, it tends to bleed into every other part of your life as well. It can become all consuming at times, which makes it really, really hard to fit all of those other things in. But I think that one of the things that I certainly have recognized for myself over the years is that, you're trying to be the CEO, and you're trying to and then do everything else as well. And in order to be able to do that and to do it well and do it properly, you have got to have that time to work on yourself, whether that's mindset. So I'm always working on my mindset, whether it's, physically looking after yourself and making sure that you're fit and healthy and strong. All of those things come together, and it's almost like you have got to look after your energy, and you have got to create that space for yourself in order that you can then, run your business as effectively as you possibly can. But easier said than done. And I have this with that, whether you're a small business owner, whether you are a somebody who is employed and who has kids and a full-time job, we're all in the same place. We're all really busy. And I think that funny enough, I was talking about this in my membership group this morning, is that I'm getting the sense at the moment that we've all got this kind of collective, we're all collectively knackered, basically, at the moment, right? In a way that I've not felt it before. And it's just,
I agree. I feel it as well.
Get this sense when I speak to people and what I see, what people are going through, that people are just like, I'm just bloody tired. I'm just tired. And so this January doesn't feel to me like it's been the usual, I'm going to get on it, I'm going to smash it this year. People are like, oh, do I have to? kind of thing.
I agree. And it's really interesting, actually, because we speak to a lot of clients on a weekly basis, and all our clients very much feel like that as well. And I actually we have a few clients who are gym owners, and I've said to them in the last couple of weeks, have you had that January influx? And they said, well, we've had a slight bump, but really not to the extent that we usually have. And I think that completely plays into the people are just knackered.
They are, and I noticed it myself. In my membership, obviously people tend to join my membership at the start of the new year as well.
Yes.
At the end of last year, I had quite a lot of people join me in December. This year, it was literally a couple of people. It was just everything feels very different. And I think that when we're all in that place, even more so, we know we need to look after ourselves, but finding the energy and the motivation is virtually impossible. So my biggest tip is just to start small. I think that we've all been fed this idea that we need to, if we're going to get a result, we need to go for it. We need to do the 4 workouts a week, and we need to cut out the sugar, and we need to, walk 10,000 steps a day, and. And so when we're thinking about starting, we're like, oh, that seems like an awful lot of effort. If I don't do that, I'm not going to get a result.
But and also, you feel like you fail if you miss one of the days, or if you eat a bit of chocolate, or you feel like well, that's it. It's all out the window. I've like completely messed up this thing. Well, I don't. Why should I even bother?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and that's, then we go on that roller coaster all the time where we're on it and we're doing all the things, or we're off it and we're not doing anything at all. So for me, it's like finding that middle ground. And it's, what I tend to say to people is that they, none of us want to be on that roller coaster. All of us have this vision in mind of, I would like to get to a point where I can be consistent. I can, manage that in the long term, for the next 5, 10, 15 years onwards. And that I can therefore create something that works for me in the long term. So we don't want to necessarily do that kind of going all in type thing from the, forever. But we feel like we've got to do it to start with. But what I'm saying to people is, you've got to start with one step at a time, so that you can actually create that long-term habit that you can keep going with. So just start small, break it right down. Like, what is one thing you could do for yourself this week that is going to make a difference? Is it to go out for a walk every day? Is it to do 2 workouts? Is it to I don't know, like have one less wine night a week or something like that? Like, what is the one thing that's going to contribute the most to what you want to feel and what you want to get out of it? And starting to know that it's much easier to start here and to gradually like build and build and build and build than it is to go here, because then you haven't got anywhere else to go. The only way you've got is down, and you then feel bad about yourself. So start here and just start with the small thing. It's like when you're running a business. So I'm doing, so I'm building a course at the moment for perimenopause, and I can sit there and I can look at the whole thing as this like, oh my God, I've got so much that I need to do to make this work and make this happen. But of course I'm not going to do that. I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to go, well, right, this week this is the thing that's important, and next week this is the thing that's important. And it's approaching your fitness and wellness in that same vein, that you gradually build it and make a plan for it as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that I know in the past, I certainly have done the whole thing where I say, well, I want to run, and I want to bike, and I want to dance, and I want to do yoga, and I want to give up flour, and I want to give up sugar. So I'm going to try and do all of that next week. And then it's like, it gets to lunchtime on Monday, and I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed with the amount of good things that I need to do that I just almost get paralyzed into doing nothing at all. So I think just that sort of one thing, even if that one thing is one walk that week, if it's one more than you would usually do, then you can strike it off as a win.
Yeah, we think there's no point if we're only going to do a little bit, if we're not going to do all of it. But there is always a point, because it's about building that habit and starting to create the foundations for what's going to come next. And like with building a business, like my business looks completely different to what it did 5 years ago, because I've built on it, and I've kind of gone, oh, actually that thing really worked well, so how can I develop that? But that thing was a bit rubbish and it didn't really work for me, so I'm going to knock that one on the head. And you grow and you change, and your fitness it doesn't need to look exactly the same for the next 5 years. It can grow with you and change as you need it to.
Yeah, and I think as well, a lot of people will say, well, that's great, but I don't have an hour to go for a walk or to exercise. I'm already busy. I've got the school run to do. I've got my business to run. And I know for me, I have found that difficult in the past. I've also, interestingly, guilted myself into, well, when I get back from work, I should be spending time with my kids, and I shouldn't go for a run for half an hour, even though my husband is saying to me, go for a run. Please go for a run. I know you want to go for a run. Put your trainers on. And I'm like, oh, but I feel bad. I just like have this self-imposing, I feel bad for doing this when I've not seen my kids all day because they've been at school and I've been at work. And I think we're really good at guilt tripping ourselves in those situations too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, you know, like you said at the start, oh, you know, I don't have the time to go out for an hour's walk. Like nobody's, you know, you don't have to go, it doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be an hour in the gym. Like probably the longest workouts I ever do are about 40 minutes. And that's one of my long workouts. Like I might do this job as a fitness and wellness coach, but you know, I'm still living the same kind of life as everybody else, where I've got 2 kids and I've got a business to run and you know, I've got all of those things going on. So I don't have loads of time to work out myself either. So I will keep it short and sweet. And, you know, in my membership, for example, you know, a lot of the workouts in there are 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour long, because that is the time that people have got, and we can still get an amazing result from that. And we can still like look after ourselves. But it doesn't need to be that hour in the gym. Like do 15 minutes, see how it feels.
Yeah. And I think that one thing that I sometimes do in the summer, particularly in the summer, if I do want to go for a walk and get out and get some fresh air, is I just make sure that I can basically multitask when I'm doing that. So if I want to go out and have a walk, and I can have a meeting with my team whilst I'm out walking, because they don't care that I'm out walking and I've got my headphones in and speaking to them. I wouldn't necessarily do that with a client because I can't write things down, and so that would be harder for me. But there are situations where actually you can do other things at the same time. It's not kind of dead time when it comes to work. You could listen to a video or a podcast about some new like marketing thing that you want to try, and you could be doing that whilst you're doing other things as well, whilst you're working out, whilst you're exercising.
Yeah, totally. I'll walk on the school run. You know, it's tempting to drive sometimes because it's quicker, but I'm just like, well, an extra 15 minutes and I can walk there and back. And he gets walked and I get walked, and you know, everybody's happy. Well, he's not happy. He's never happy about but he does it anyway.
You in the long run, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I think the guilt thing as well. You know, certainly my kids are a bit older; they're 9 and 12 now, and they don't actually want anything to do with me after school anymore. Anyway, so what? I might as well work out. I might as well use that for my own stuff, because they're off like, I don't know, looking at TikTok or playing on the Xbox or whatever. They want to come, just like you at the end of the day, you want to sit down and, you know, just flop and watch a bit of TV. They want to do the same. Yeah. So, you know, for me, that time is perfect actually for getting a bit of exercise in. If I can.
I love it. I've started recently exercising first thing in the morning. I'm not recommending people do this because it does mean that I get up earlier. I get up at about 6 and I go for a run. And I have found for me, it's been a really great way to start my day, because what I've done is I've scheduled it. So I arrive back home and get in the shower at the same time I would have normally have got up at. So at the time where I would usually be getting up anyway, be getting the kids. So I'm there for the morning kids stuff. I'm up 45 minutes in total before I would be. Of course, that means that it eats into sleep, and that's too early for some people. But I'm a morning person anyway, so it's not too early for me. I prefer to go to bed earlier in the evening anyway. But of course, depending on family circumstances, that's not always possible for people. If you've got older kids, particularly, I suppose my kids are young. But I think as well, for me, it's about actually scheduling it in my diary and holding myself to that appointment that I have with myself as much as I would for anything else.
Yeah. And I'm the complete opposite. I'm not a morning person at all. I don't like getting out of bed. And the idea of doing exercise first thing in the morning is just not. I used to do it a long time ago, but honestly, it was never my best effort. Let's just put it that way. So I think that's the other thing, is like work out what works for you. We all get sucked into this. Oh, well, she gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I should be able to do that. And if I can't, what's the point? And it's like, I'm sitting here saying I'm a fitness professional. I hate working out first thing in the morning and I hate getting out of bed. So I will do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when actually that works better for my energy. I feel more in the right place to do that. And like I say, my kids are off, doing their
Yeah.
Xbox and whatever anyway. So I've
Mm.
got the time to do it at that point. And, because I'm self-employed, I've got that bit more flexibility as well. So, find what works for you. It might be taking a break at lunchtime. It might be doing it late in the afternoon, but it doesn't have to look a certain way. It just has to look what works for you, really.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to realize and recognize, because if I was to do my workouts at 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, I would be like, that would be awful for me, because I would be tired by then and I wouldn't manage to do it. So yeah, working out what works for you is so important. And let's feed this back into kind of business performance, because I know that some people will be thinking, well, what does this have to do with me running my business well? And I am a firm believer that it can only be a positive thing if you, as the business owner, are in the right place physically and mentally. And that's what part of our discussion is all about, really, is helping get yourself into that place.
Yeah, I think we all know that exercise benefits us. We all know that, and I think that it feeds into our energy levels. We exercise more, we feel more energetic. It feeds into us being able to focus better. When we're feeling fit and strong, and I think it feeds as well into that sense of I don't know, if you prove to yourself you can do something hard with a workout, like lift a heavier weight or something like that, it's almost like it gives you that bit of confidence for other stuff in your life as well. It sort of feeds across into that. And I think, like I say, I've been on a bit of journey with this stuff over the last couple of years, not so much in the fitness. I'm quite, obviously I've got the habit of working out. So I just do it. Even if I'm not feeling particularly motivated, I will make myself do something because it's part of the habit. But certainly when it comes to more of the wellness stuff, the mindset and things like journaling and meditation and things like that, which I never used to do, have become a really important part of that whole package, that whole kind of fitness and wellness package. And I know that when I'm focusing on those things and when I'm using those things on a regular basis, it feeds into the energy that I have in my business, and it feeds into me being able to focus more on the things that are really important. It helps me to make certain decisions as well, because I've gone through a period in the last couple of years where I've a lot of my work previously had been one-to-one, and clearly you get to a point where you're like, well, I've kind of gone as far as I'm really busy. I've got a waiting list. I've gone as far as I can in the time I've got available with this. So what's the next step? And the next step for me was, okay, well, I'm going to launch a membership site. So I've got more income and I'm going to start creating courses. But what I was trying to do is I was trying to run my old business and I was trying to run my new business, so to speak. And I was like, why can't I do this? What's going on? And it was a lot of mindset work that brought me to a place of kind of like, oh, okay, right, I need to slow this down. Something's got to give. I've got to give up some of my one-to-one work. To give me
in order to free you up.
And and like learning to let go. And that for me has been my sort of wellness journey, so to speak. And, working out just helps me to take my mind off it as well. It helps me to, whenever I do it, I always feel better afterwards. And I always know that if I'm, if I'm in a grump about something, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or, I've got lots of stuff in my head, I go and do that workout and I come out the other end and I'm like, okay, right, I feel like I can actually handle this thing now, and I can make this decision, and I can do those things. And like I say, it's for me, it's not just doing your fitness, it's not just looking after your nutrition, it's not just the mindset work. It's like all those things have to like come together in looking after yourself and protecting your own energy, so that you have then got the energy to put towards building your business.
And I think while we speak about all those things feeding into your energy, I think an important thing for people to understand as well is that, certainly for me, I find the days that I exercise, I'm more productive in the time I have in my business. So even if your exercise is taking you out your business for half an hour, actually then the other, whatever it is, 6.5 hours or however many hours you work in a day that you have available actually becomes more productive time, because you've helped you. I mean, you might be thinking through things when you're on a treadmill, or you might be, getting, as you say, getting rid of that kind of overwhelm and those other feelings that actually when you come to sit at your desk or wherever it is you happen to work, then actually the time that you have there is spent better anyway.
Yeah, I think I read something recently that said that we can actually only really focus effectively for about 90 minutes at a time. And after that, our productivity just starts to slide and dip. And so if you're sitting at the desk for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours straight, and you're not really giving yourself that break, then you're like, the more that time goes on, the less productive you're getting. So actually, we can take those breaks, and then when we get back to it for the next hour and a half, we are, we're on it again, and our brain is kind of ready to go. And taking our mind off it by going for a run or doing a meditation or whatever it is. And so I've definitely been like incorporating that into my day more, like, whereas I used to be very much like, if I had a desk day, sit down at 8:30 and just like plug away, and then you kind of get to the end of the day and you're like, hang on a minute, what have I actually achieved? Whereas recently I've been I'll work for an hour and a half on something, and then take a half-hour break, go get my lunch, do a meditation, do whatever. And I find that I get to the end of the day, I'm like, oh, actually, I've achieved quite a lot today. And it has definitely made me more productive, taking that time and doing something different in that time.
Yeah, I like that you say taking time for your lunch. This is something that our regular listeners and watchers will have heard me speak about a lot. I have my lunch in my diary. I have it blocked out for half an hour every day, every work day, so that I don't have any client stuff to do at that point in time. I have nothing else in my diary apart from lunch, so that I do take that pause. I might go out. My office is right beside the river and the forest, so I might take a 15-minute walk or whatever, but I have that opportunity to actually just pause for half an hour and eat lunch. And I didn't used to do this. This is only something I started probably within the last year. But again, I found actually the rest of my day I approach with more motivation and with more energy, because actually I've taken that half hour just to sort of hit pause on everything.
Yeah, it gives your brain a break, doesn't it? And you come back feeling that bit more refreshed and ready to go for the rest of the day. I've definitely found that myself, definitely.
Yeah. So what, Alix, tell me, what tips do you have for those people that when they're rushing around in their crazy life, and instead of grabbing a banana as they run out the door, they grab a packet of crisps and that's their lunch for the day, and they fly out and they don't, that it's just it's a crazy situation where they're not kind of nourishing themselves.
It's a bit of planning in advance. Again, I'm going to liken it to running a business, because that's what everybody does here. You might sit down on a Sunday evening and kind of think about, right, what is it that I need to achieve this week, and what do I need to do? Right. So you also devote 10 minutes to what do I need to eat this week, and what is going to serve me in that as well. And, making a plan for just having those bits and pieces in. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be like some, fancy, amazing concoction for lunch, but just being prepared in advance, so that you've got the things in that you can easily and quickly grab, so that you can make yourself something decent. Even just like shop bought soup or something at this time of year is easy, quick and easy, and is going to be more nourishing, like you say, than grabbing a packet of crisps at the end of the day. For me, it's just about that bit of prep. And I don't spend ages prepping for the week at all. I literally spend a few minutes having a think about, right, what food do I need to make sure I've got in, so that I have a decent lunch every day.
Yeah, amazing. And I think there's been research as well, which has linked kind of what we eat to brain activity and productivity in general as well.
Yeah, I mean, things like particularly things like your omega-3 fats and stuff like that. You get in, your salmon and various bits and pieces can have they're like brain food, literally. They're really good for you, really good for your folk. Like, what was it we used to get told when we were like kids, like eat fish for focus or something like that.
Yeah.
It's true. Do you remember that? Like when you were doing GCSEs and stuff.
Yeah.
Eat fish for focus, but actually, it's like have some salmon because that's got the omega-3s, and it like helps your brain to work better, I think. So yeah, I think definitely it's like but it's all part of one big puzzle, isn't it? It's not like it's not like if you swap your crisp lunch for some salmon, you're suddenly going to like everything's going to be amazing. Like, it doesn't quite work like that, but it's all like part of that little puzzle that you do that, and then you go out for your little walk for 10 minutes, and maybe you do an exercise session later, and you might do a bit of meditation, and you start to like slot all those things together, and that's when you kind of that's when you're going to feel better, you're going to feel more energized, you're going to feel more focused when you put all those things together, because there's never just one answer, there's never just one single thing to do. It's always like a collective of different little habits that you can create.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is very, very similar to growing your business. One Facebook post does not make a 7-figure business. It's about all the different bits that you have to put in place in order to get the kind of fullness of the business that you want to run. And it's the same with your body, and it's the same with a car. It's the same with anything that you want to run smoothly and work efficiently and work well. It's about those pieces of the puzzle adding up and working together. Yeah,
always. I think like I said earlier, you're building your business is like this journey where things change, and you add things in that work, and you take things away that don't work, and you create something that works for you ultimately. And it's the same with your wellness as well. Like you've got to everybody's thing is going to look different. There is no one size fits all, but you will experiment, try different things, add different things in, and see what always my aim is what feels good. Let's stop this whole let's stop shoulding ourselves. Somebody said that the other day. Let's stop shoulding ourselves, as in I should do this, and I should go for a run, and I should, even though I hate it. Like I hate running. Like it's really not my thing. I like lifting weights and doing HIIT exercise. Now I could beat myself up for that, and I could go, but you're a fitness coach, like you should love running, you should be going out running a couple of times a week. I'm like, but I don't like running. Like, it's boring. I don't want to do it. And so I've stopped making that I should. I used to always think, I should do that, and now I'm like, no, it doesn't work for me, I'm not going to do it. And it's like anything, just because somebody else does it doesn't mean that you should do it. You could try it, but if it's not your bag, then try something else, and create that kind of whole like I said, that whole puzzle needs to be made from the pieces that actually work for you, rather than what you think you should be doing all the time.
Yeah, I like that. And it's a bit about dropping that sort of self-judgment, isn't it? That actually we are all different people, and what works for one person won't work for someone else.
Definitely.
I love it. Amazing. Alix, I have really, really enjoyed this discussion. Why don't you let our listeners and watchers know where they can find out more about you and how they can connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can find out more about me at chickfit.co.uk. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Alix Chickfit, and that's ALIX at Alix Chickfit. And you can also tune into my podcast, which is The Busy Woman's Guide to Fitness and Wellness as well. So you can go search for that and have a little listen for more similar tips.
Perfect. And we'll also, when this goes on the podcast, we'll put all those links in the show notes as well, so that people have that for you too. But thank you so much for joining me today. I very much enjoyed this discussion. I went out for a run this morning, so I've ticked off my exercise for the day. But I'm sure you will have inspired some of our listeners and watchers to lace up their trainers later today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Annette.
We'll speak soon. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.